Don't say that. All right, listen, if you are offering financing for your coaching programs, for your 10, 20K, 30K programs, you better listen up because the FTC just recently closed a case where they were not very happy about these financing things. It had to do with credit. So we're going to talk about that today because a lot of people do. And here's the thing that we hear on sales calls all the time. You'll be talking to someone that says, well, I don't have that kind of money. And the salesperson will say something like, don't worry, you don't have to have any money. We'll take care of that for you. That's now something that's proactively being looked after. It's been in the past, by the way. Greg will talk to that. But there was a recent case that closed that we're going to talk about. And so we'll do that. Make sure you grab the book, don'tsaythat.com. Come on, support the cause, read it, learn from it. Before we started this episode, Greg and I were just talking about Compliance Summit. Might be happening, real thing. I also may or may not have just gotten off the phone with our travel agent who helps us book our hotels for events. May have even had a great call with a potential sponsor. I don't know. It's all hearsay. I can't substantiate any of that. But keep an eye out for it. And hey, listen, make sure you're part of our Compliant Marketing Academy. This morning was the first time I had the thought, Greg, and I haven't even told Greg this yet, but this is going to happen, I feel like, in the next 30 days. I think it's time for the price to go up for Compliant Academy. It's too less. And we've got our founding members. They love it. So looks like the price is going to probably go up soon. I don't know when. You got some time. Click below. Join us. And Complyly.com. Get in there. That one's definitely going to go up soon. We got a lot of features. We just rolled out the substantiation bank. Greg hasn't even seen it. I'll show it to him later. It's so cool. It is so cool. Greg is very irritated with me right now because he has been patiently waiting for certain features on Complyly. Greg, I promise you, December 1st. Actually, no, next week.
Oh,
We're going to
great.
show Charday first, though, not you. So we're going to have a call with Charday next week
I'm the
and
one
show
that's
her.
giving feedback on this. Come
I know,
on.
but we want to show Charday first. We will show you after her. Once she approves it, then it comes to you. But yeah, go Complyly.com, sign up. We are doing some crazy things there. All right, Greg, credit, financing. What's going on? What happened?
So let me take it because Onik raised this to me before I jumped on. He's like, "How is this case even relevant to the average marketer?"
Yeah.
So let me explain. So there's a company out of California that's but the name is Seek Capital, SEEK, Seek Capital. What they were doing is they were advertising for individuals who are starting a new enterprise with doing something. Amazon, Facebook store, Walmart store, real estate, stock investing, whatever. Hey, you need additional capital, come to us and we'll help you do that. And over a 3-year period of time, they generated over $37 million worth of revenue for their business. What were they doing? They were doing a thing called credit stacking. Now, this isn't a new thing. This is where you have an algorithm or a software that allows you to apply for several credit cards at once. And what that does is it mirrors and masks from other companies, so credit card providers, masks from them that you're applying for credit. So when they give you credit, they don't know that at the same time another bank and financial institution has gotten the same application as giving the end consumer credit as well. And so there are several cases the FTC has brought over the years on this. One of those was Seed Capital, SEED Capital. And similar to Seek, now it's Seed. And they were doing the same thing. What they would do is they would partner up with a marketing company that was offering a product or service, whether it was real estate or e-com, education, or short-term rentals, whatever it was. And they said, hey, if your clients can't pay for the underlying services, we'll help them get corporate credit for their business. And in doing so, what they'll do is they will be able to fund not only your training for the underlying product and services, but we'll have a lot of credit for the business itself. But here's the kicker: they would charge a flat fee for that. So every time you'd sign up for the service, it'd be between $2,000 to $4,000. So what is Seed Capital doing? Exact same thing. They have an algorithm that goes through automatically when somebody signs up. They automatically send out these applications. But what was their fee? 10% of the total amount of credit they got for the client. So
Wow.
they get a $200,000 worth of credit. they sweep those credit cards and take $20,000 just like that. So they know they're getting paid every single time. So unlike seed, which was 2 to 4,000, this is a 10% of the total amount that they get credit for these individuals. And here's the kicker. They try to say it was a business to business transaction. The allegations of the lawsuit were that most of these were applications for personal credit cards. So it had nothing to do with the business credit. Although they said it was corporate credit, they all signed personal guarantees and they ended up being personal credit lines. So you can see the case. It's out of the state of California, Central District Court, FTC versus Seek Capital. They sued the individual, which was this Roy Furman, who is an officer and owner of the company as well. But they outline the common enterprise and the defendant's activities that since 2015 they started doing this. And they would do this simultaneous, and they would pay Google to be promoted on it so that they could, that's how they promoted on this. Is a lot of Google ads that were out there promoting top startup business loans, 10,000 to 1 million next day funded. So they made these representations that they could do this. They didn't explain what those business loans were. I mean, from the advertisement, it could look like an SBA loan, but it wasn't. It was these interest-free, short-term interest-free credit cards that would go from 0% to sometimes up to 25%, like that, within a short period of time. So what was happening is these people were getting pre-approved, sweep the accounts, they have this credit, they were able to use it for whatever purpose they are, but the company was taking 10% of that. So, yeah, they say you can get it within, and here was the ads. Here's the deceptive marketing. In no time, within a day, no upfront fees, which was true. They didn't charge them to get the service, but they swept the accounts as soon as they got the credit cards. So,
so it's going to open up a Pandora's box of questions. So I'm glad to ask. I'm glad to have this opportunity. Years ago, when this case came out, you forwarded it to me, and I was already on it. I was actually at that morning I'd seen it, and I took the name of the person who's behind the case, and the first thing I did is I popped them into my email, and I tried to see if I'd connected with them in the past, and I hadn't, because I had been pitched this very thing by somebody a few years ago. So, financing companies, there's quite a few of them, and I don't think there's anything wrong with them, although I'm going to ask you in a minute what you think about all of this. So we got pitched this, and my team brought it to me, and I said, and they were like, oh, we have a this % approval rate, oh, we don't look at this, we don't look at that, we fund you this much. And I was kind of scratching my head. I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, I don't understand. Your offer to me is very different than all the other financing companies and how they pay out and what, their kind of clawback terms and everything are. And they're like, oh, it's because we don't carry any of the risk. We don't, like, it's not our money. I'm like, what? Whose money? And I find out that's exactly what they did, credit card stacking. So what they would basically do is figure out, okay, your program is $10K. We can easily help your clients get 5 credit cards for $222K and charge that, and now you're paid full. You get your full money, and you just pay us X amount. And I looked at that, and right out the gate, I'm like, I don't even know the legality of that, but I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to my clients. That sounds horrendous. It sounds just bad. And then it sounds like a problem waiting to happen because it smells bad, right? It's got a bad taste to it. So Greg, is first of all, is there a law that's illegal? Let's just say a client goes and does that. Same time, they don't use anyone's help. At the same time they apply for 10 credit cards, they get approved, and they buy a $30K coaching program. Is there some law somewhere that says like, hey, that's not, you can't do that? Or is that murky water?
It's not murky water. I mean, it's deceptive practices, right? I mean, the clients they sign up for the service. First call, they sign a simple application, no upfront fees, and then they try to.
No, sorry. Let me ask the question again. I'm not like take the company out of the mix for now. Like,
sure.
There's no one helping. So the client themselves, the customer's like, I can just go sign up for 10 credit cards and pay you with 10 credit cards. Is that act in and of itself illegal? Like for them to do that and go get 10 credit cards?
If they're not being directed or told or trained how to do it, and they just do it themselves, then that's just them doing it, right?
Okay, all right. So it's not smart, but that's not technically illegal.
No, but
the illegal part comes in where someone is helping them do
Yeah.
that and then being incentivized and paid for doing that. Is that
The
correct?
yeah, the assistance part of that is what it is.
Okay.
And the issue with it is couple of issues because like in this case, once they signed the initial agreement, no upfront fees, they wouldn't let them cancel. So they couldn't cancel, even if they hadn't submitted the applications yet. Back in the day, I represented companies, telemarketers that would actually walk through and help clients get credit. And there was a slew of cases back in 2008 and 9 where companies were getting hit for assisting their clients to get this credit card, financing to be able to purchase. And then in about 2017, 18, some cases with real estate, they came under scrutiny because they made advertising claims that, you could invest in real estate without any money out of your own pocket. OPM, other people's money. It's a huge thing. And tons of cases were brought by the FTC about that too, because it was misleading. The percentage of people that actually were able to do this, and then what was it was credit card, and then they had these 25% interest rates, and they couldn't get out of it because a lot of clients will get in there, they'd use the money for the underlying services and to buy other stuff with it, and then they wouldn't have any money to invest. So they weren't making money on this, and then they were paying 25% interest. So all it was doing is getting a lot of people into debt, and that's something that really makes people, the FTC upset. That's why that last dollar rule came into place in the first place, is because it wasn't just getting on the phone with somebody and finding out how much money they had and then catering the product to whatever they were selling. It was also going through and saying, hey, you don't have money for this? Okay, I've got a solution for you. Let me help you get into this debt. And then you can buy the service. And so that's why a lot of clients of mine at the time, what they did is they did internal financing. They started just writing their own paper, holding their own debt, so that if they wanted to, they could release the obligation versus getting a credit card company out there. So they'd set up installment payments or payment plans internal instead,
So you
which
segued. So you segued perfectly into a question I have for you. Um, you've represented so many people that sell 10, 20, 30K programs. What is your out of the box advice to them? There's a lot of financing companies out there. I'm sure there's legitimate companies out there as well,
yeah,
I'm assuming. Can your clients, so if I come to you tomorrow, right? Okay, Greg, I'm like, hey, Greg, um, I've got this financing company I'm going to work with. Is your immediate reaction like, hell no, out the door we go, you're not doing a financing company? Or what do you look for? What's the red flag, or what's your
well,
advice?
what I look for is a couple of things. If they're legitimate financing, third-party financing options that do it for a lot of different businesses, just not the marketing world or the
Okay.
build your own business type world. So those are okay. As long as it's clearly disclosed to the client what they're getting into and that it's an independent application from what you're doing. So like I'll have clients that'll say, hey, listen, we don't care how you pay, credit card, cash, check, whatever. Some people will use this, or this. So you give them a buffet of options for them to choose. You're not directing them to one source, and happens to be that one of those sources can give them financing. Okay, it's up to them.
Okay.
Versus this is our vendor, you should use them. They will get you that line of credit. And then the vendor's backdoor communicating like Seed Capital was and said, hey, just want to let you know, Joe just got approved for $200,000. They're ready to go to sell that package, that $50,000 package. You should be able to collect now.
It's like
That's right.
insider trading. It's
But
like inside information.
the client doesn't understand the close communication, so they think
Yeah.
they're dealing with a neutral arm's length company, but it's not. They're tied to the
Yeah.
It's
It's a huge
deceptive.
conflict of interest there. Okay,
Yeah.
so rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some questions
Go.
about
Yes.
how you would. Okay, so um, I've got a client on the phone. They want to buy my program. They're going to take a loan against their 401k. Are you okay with that or not?
If they're directed to go into take money out of the form, if you're the telemarketer and said, "Hey, do you have a 401k?" Yeah, I do. Well, you should take money out of that to buy this, and to buy what we're selling to. Me, investment advice. You're directing them, advising them to exit one position to buy into another opportunity. So the FTC looks at that as giving investment advice. Now, if you say this, like there's a lot of ways you can fund this. You can do a home line of credit. You can look at what funds you have in savings and retirement and all this, and you're just giving them generalities, probably okay. If they
Okay.
decide to go and pull money out of their 401k and borrow against it, that's on to them. But if you're
Okay.
directing them, hey, do you have an IRA? Well, great. This is what you do. You sell
Uh-huh.
your positions and you take that money and
Okay.
buy this, right?
You asked another great question. I mean, you alluded to it, so I think I know the answer. Someone says, "Hey, I'm going to pay for this. I'm just going to take a second mortgage on my house, or I'm going to take a credit line out." Wasn't suggested. The salesperson didn't push it, but they heard it. Can they take the sale, or is that like, "Hey, dude, don't do that. We can't take your sale now."
I think you have to remedy the sell. You have to reset the expectation, right? So um, so we'll do compliance. I have a lot of clients that'll do quality assurance. If they listen to a call and the sales rep says something that's a little bit off and the sale goes through, they'll call the client back and they'll be like, "Listen, understood you bought. One of the reasons that you bought was X, Y, and Z. This representation about taking money out of your 401k or whatever, that's not our business practice. We'd still love to have you as part of the organization and part of our training, but we want to make sure you have the right expectation. And if the client says okay, then you rehabilitated that and you keep track of that and that recording or whatever, just so you can show. If they say no, then you walk away. So
Okay.
that's what I
Yeah.
recommend.
I want to come back to this. This is a whole nother question. I want to come back to this like secondary confirmation because you just triggered. But I want to finish the rapid fire. Okay, so let's say now you're in the client. You're in my office. Okay, I'm your client. My company's your client. You happen to be visiting. You're in the office. My salesperson walks into the room and is like, "Onik, I just closed a 30K deal." I'm like, "Sweet," and he's like, "Yeah, it was kind of crazy. The person put it on 7 different credit cards. It was, but we got the deal." You're in the room. What do you say to that? He's not asking you. You're just listening in. What do you say immediately when you hear that?
You're absolutely insane. You are out of your mind.
All
What are
right.
you doing, you moron? Right? That's really
Okay.
the thing, right? Because how can that not be last dollar rule? 7 credit cards to get the purchase?
Wait,
Oh,
wait.
is it?
What's that? What's the last dollar rule? I've never heard that term before.
Oh, I thought we talked about this before. So you can look
I
it
don't
up.
remember.
The FTC
That
has
sounds like an important thing to talk about for this topic. What's that?
the FTC has what's called the last dollar rule. And that's when you get somebody on the phone and it's evident during the sales process that you're taking their last dollar. So a lot of times people would modify the presentation. They'd get on there and do a probe on the phone and they find out how much the client made. And then all of a sudden, miraculously, the product offering was just a little below what they had. Or they find out through the probe they don't have the money. So they bring a financing option like this, get them into more debt. Or they do what you just said. How many credit cards you have? We're going to take every living cent of your available credit card across 7. That's why I said you're out of your mind if you're going to take 7
Okay.
credit cards for sales. So I would have rules on a lot of my clients. They couldn't take more than 2. So that could
Yeah.
make sense. Like some people have lower balances, and so you do 2 credit cards, but 3 or 4? How? Here's the issue. Give me the ability if you're audited by the FTC. If the FTC is going to come in and do an investigation, give me a defense. Do you think I can defend? Hey, Greg, your client here, every time they're charging consistently 3 or more credit cards per transaction. How do you justify that with the
Yeah.
last dollar rule? I can't. I lose. 2
Yeah.
is probably the max I would say that
Okay.
you would try to use.
What a
7, you're out of your ever living mind.
Yeah, what a powerful thing to come out of this episode, man. If you guys are watching, that was because I know for a fact, some of you might be watching, so I'm talking to you, and I am judging you. This 3, 4, 5 credit card thing's got to go. So in our company, we had a strict policy, and imagine I still got taken down for telesales violations, okay? But we would not allow excessive debt. So we had a sale that we caught where our salesperson, I'm not proud of it, and they weren't there with us anymore after this. I think it was like that was at least second strike. someone was about to buy a house. Now, our programs were not above 10K, so we were at 10K, but they were about to buy a house, and they decided not to buy the house to buy our program, and the salesperson went along with that, and then it got caught in our audit process the next day, like literally the very next day, and it was like, boom. We got on top of it. We called the person and said, whoa, 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 whoa. You buy your house. What is this? And we're like, hey, we're so sorry. That should not have been, acceptable. We'll give you the program for free. Please go get your house, and you can have our program for free. And so even with that kind of stuff on the record, having done that, it's like we were very stringent about what we allowed people to do. And I kept making it stricter and stricter and stricter as time went, and I'm damn proud of it. But I have seen some of y'all out there who are just going out of your way to find that money. And, even Greg, as you were talking, like the last dollar rule, God, good for the FTC. I'm rooting that one on. That is just disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
Putting people in that kind of position is just wrong, man. I don't like it.
It's a scam. If you got a guy, and here's the issue, like I've represented clients for a long time, and they'd come to me and were like, we brought this guy on, and he's on Social Security, and he's been on disability for the last 10 years. Now, there's nothing wrong with trying to help somebody out, but teach them a new skill set to be able to put them in a position they could make money doing something else. But the problem is they're charging this guy that's broke $10,000 to do something, and they know he's broke. He's been living on government welfare for 10 years, and he tells them that, and it's on the call, and then they take $10,000. Like, I get that you want to help. That's not helping. That's not helping. And especially if the client comes back and says, I didn't make any money doing this, but, oh, I want my money back. Well, screw you. We're not giving you your money back. You paid it. You signed it. It's like, that's not being a good corporate citizen. That's
No,
bad
it's not.
acting.
It's not being a good person. Forget corporate
It's
citizens.
not.
All right. We're going to wrap this up soon, but I got to ask you this question because it's self-serving. So telesales, when I'm done telling people about telesales stuff, you scare the crap out of them. They're immediately like, I don't want to do any more telesales. And I'm like, well, I'm still going to do telesales. They're like, how? And I'm like, I don't know. Partly Greg's there, so I'm sure he'll keep me in the clean, but I'm still going to do telesales. But I have one thing. There is one part of telesales, because, as I've shared with you, right, we're getting ready for a big 2025. We're getting ready for a huge 2025. I'm the comeback kid's back. I mean, you guys are going to see me everywhere. I'm sorry, or I apologize ahead of time, but sorry, not sorry. So I'm preparing, and this is something that's been keeping me up the last week. But you literally led right to it. It's like, I'm not going to have a big sales team. It'd be 2-3 people, 2 of whom I trust through and through. They've been with me for so long. Like, I get it. But, sometimes things can happen. Something can be said on a call that's like, why'd you do that? And we've built our systems. Complyly is going to catch it. We'll get triggered. We'll know it happened. So what I wanted to ask you, Greg, was as a secondary insurance program, if a company does catch something, instead of thinking they're immediately now exposed and their neck is exposed to being sued, can we build a secondary protection program where that person then gets a call and says, hey, our whatever department, as you named it, I forgot what you called it, we just want to set the net impression correct, right? Like, you were told this, you may have thought this, and if that person's like, no, I'm good, I'm still in, does that then, if the FTC later on comes and hears that call and says, oh, you said what's your goal on that call, you guys did it again, we're going to get you. It's like, whoa, hold on. Here you go. Here's a secondary call we did. We rectified it. Would that work?
Yeah, I mean, if you followed up and you cleaned up the misrepresentation, you cleaned up the and they still wanted to stay, but I always flag those clients, and if they ever come back at any time because there was a blimp, we just let them go. Yeah, we just.
So there you go, everyone. I don't know if you caught that. That is a massive, massive glimmer of comfort in the sense that, look, I understand if you have salespeople, you can work on them and so on, but this is why you've got to use Complyly. This is why you've got to tap Complyly in, and it will monitor all the sales calls for everybody, give you scores, give you problems, alert you when issues are happening, and then you can proactively get ahead of them. You don't have to reverse the sale. You don't even have to, you have a secondary part of your process, and you clean it up and save all of that. That makes me feel better. All right, Greg, this has been awesome. This has probably been one of my favorite episodes. I was skeptical at the beginning. I was skeptical. I was like, I don't know about this topic impacts. So skeptical. I did this one for Greg. I was like, all right, Greg, last week I got my episode, you get this one. But this is very, 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 very needed for the industry. I didn't even know some of the stuff you talked about. Last dollar rule, guys. Make sure you're being good citizens. I just like that term. That's like, be good citizens. You know, another thing that good citizens do, they buy the damn book and support the mission. And they get excited about the opportunity of traveling to come to the Compliance Summit. All right, Greg, thank you. Love you guys. Go out there. If you want to be a giant, go compliant. Everyone send good thoughts to Greg. He's dealing with like 18 cases right now and 32 other problems as a lawyer. So we send him our good juju. May the forces of legal strength lead him to victory. And for me, holidays are coming. I'll send pictures to everybody about my house. My house is going to be about as lit up as it ever is. I have an entire garage full of decoration that goes up this weekend. And I just spent another $1,200 on lights. So to all my neighbors, sorry, not sorry. With that said, everybody, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you, Greg. Thank you to the rest of you. When life pushes you, stand straight, smile, push it the heck back. See you on the next episode. Bye.